The war in Iran seems to have become a hot war again today, with U.S. and Iranian ships firing at each other in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump has decided at the same time that he's going to pull 5,000 U.S. troops out of Germany. Now, wait, why does that matter for the Iran war? Germany isn't Iran.
Listen to this carefully. Ships are exchanging fire in the Strait of Hormuz. The conflict with Iran is heating up once again. Yet, at that very moment, the administration is moving to withdraw 5,000 American troops from Germany. The man overseeing these decisions is Pete Hegseth, the former Fox News host who built his reputation delivering passionate speeches about God, country, and military strength. Now, after President Trump launched military action against Iran, Hegseth finds himself at the center of one of the most consequential defense decisions in years.
Well, when Trump started the war in Iran, without hardening or protecting any of our gazillion military bases and installations all over the Middle East, which were now in the range of fire for Iranian missiles and drones, oops, where do you think they sent the U.S. troops who had to be evacuated really quickly off of all of those undefended bases all over the Middle East? Where'd they send them? They sent them to Germany, because we have a really big troop presence in Germany and lots of facilities for our troops in Germany. There have been hundreds of U.S. troops wounded in Trump's Iran war so far. Where do U.S. troops get evacuated to when they're wounded in the Middle East? They get evacuated to Germany, because we have such a big troop presence there and lots of military facilities there to handle those things. Trump is now sending 5,000 American troops home from that crucial position. Trump is simultaneously re-upping the war in the Middle East and also shrinking our ability to support that war from the place where we support a war like that, which is Germany. Why did he decide to do this now? Simultaneously upping the Iran war and also taking away the military's ability to support the troops that are there fighting the war.
Germany serves as a critical hub for U.S. military operations in Europe, including medical care for wounded service members and the logistics that support deployments across multiple regions. Critics argue that reducing the American troop presence there could weaken that support at a time of growing instability in the Middle East. They also argue that Pete Hegseth's leadership reflects political calculations rather than a coherent military strategy. According to his critics, the decisions being made are driven more by loyalty to President Trump than by long-term defense planning. Reports have also suggested that President Trump privately expressed frustration with Hegseth's handling of key issues, fueling further questions about his leadership.
Why did he decide to do this now? Where did he get this idea? Well, little clue in the fact that he's done this exact same thing before. In his first term in 2020, you might remember this, it went down kind of exactly the same way. In 2020, Trump announced that he was going to take thousands of U.S. troops out of Germany. And the Pentagon was totally blindsided. Nobody could figure out why he announced it. Turns out he had just talked to Vladimir Putin right before making that announcement about pulling U.S. troops out of Germany. Of course, Putin, more than anything, wants U.S. troops out of all of Europe. So he was delighted. Then that was in June 2020. Then the following month, July 2020, Trump talked to Putin again. And right after talking to Putin again, Trump reiterated more forcefully this time, I really mean it. I want those thousands of U.S. troops taken out of Germany. The only reason it ultimately didn't happen back then is because that was already late in the year in 2020, and then Trump lost the presidential election, and President Joe Biden countermanded Trump's ridiculous, nonsensical order. But now Trump's back in the White House, and so here we are again, and it's gone down exactly the same way. The president publicly announced that he wants thousands of U.S. troops pulled out of Germany. The Pentagon, once again, totally blindsided. Nobody knows why he has done this. Then it turns out, it emerges that he made this announcement about pulling U.S. troops out of Germany right after he got off the phone with Vladimir Putin.
Notice the pattern. After President Trump announced major troop reductions in Germany following a conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the Pentagon reportedly scrambled to adjust. At the center of the controversy was Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, tasked with carrying out the administration's military decisions. According to multiple reports, the confusion extended beyond Germany. A long-planned rotation of roughly 4,000 U.S. troops to Poland was reportedly canceled, despite Poland being one of Washington's closest allies in Europe. Military equipment had already begun moving, and advance teams were reportedly in place before the plan was abruptly halted. The decision sparked criticism from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, while officials in Poland and the Baltic states reportedly viewed the move as a troubling signal about America's commitment to regional security. Critics argued that the reversal reflected confusion rather than a clear strategic plan. They contend that Hegseth's handling of the situation created unnecessary diplomatic tensions, forcing the administration to contain the fallout. The controversy quickly spread beyond the Pentagon, becoming a major issue on Capitol Hill the following day.
When was the 2nd Armored Brigade rotation to Poland canceled?
Just a couple days ago, Congressman.
Okay. These are major decisions that appear to many of the members of this committee to be last-minute decisions.
We don't know what's going on here, but I can just tell you we're not happy with what's being talked about, particularly since there's been no statutory consultation with us.
I know this wasn't your decision. This was the Secretary of Defense's decision. But I got to tell you, it's reprehensible. It's an embarrassment to our country what we just did to Poland. There is no good explanation why we just removed 2 armored brigades from Eastern Europe.
We still have a force structure that is permanent force structure that's in Europe supporting our allies through both exercises and continual presence on the continent.
I know I may not represent 100% of people in this committee, but I think I represent the views of the vast majority. We disagree. Russia has invaded Ukraine. Have they given us any concessions to withdraw 2 armored brigades out of Europe as they're invading Ukraine? What concessions have they given us as we withdraw forces?
Sir, I can't answer that question.
Well, I know it's none. And this is why it's so foolish. Do we know if Poland was notified by the Secretary?
We don't know.
Well, I already know the answer because they called me yesterday. They did not know. They were blindsided.
The controversy reached a boiling point during a House Armed Services Committee hearing. Republican Congressman Don Bacon, a retired Air Force general, openly criticized the decision, calling it a slap in the face to Poland, America's Baltic allies, and Congress itself. He described the move as reprehensible and an embarrassment to the United States. Committee Chairman Mike Rogers, also a Republican, expressed frustration that Congress had not been consulted as required for such a significant policy change. He warned Pentagon officials that lawmakers would respond if decisions of this magnitude continued without proper oversight. Army officials confirmed that the directive had come from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's office and that it had been issued only recently. However, they offered little public explanation for the strategic reasoning behind the decision, leaving lawmakers from both parties demanding answers. What had started as an internal Pentagon controversy quickly became a political crisis. Critics argued that the episode sent an unsettling message to America's allies, that even close security partners could face abrupt policy shifts without clear justification. According to reporting by the Wall Street Journal, current and former U.S. officials said President Donald Trump later called Hegseth seeking an explanation for the reported cancellation of the Poland deployment. The report says Trump emphasized that his concerns had been directed at Germany, not Poland, and stressed that Poland remained one of the administration's key allies if those accounts are accurate. The incident underscored growing tensions inside the administration and intensified scrutiny of Hegseth's leadership. Days later, President Trump sought to reassure allies with a post on Truth Social. But by then, the controversy had already drawn widespread attention in Washington.
President Donald Trump said on Thursday that the U.S. will send an additional 5,000 troops to Poland. His administration had said it was reducing the American military footprint there, and confirmed about 4,000 service members were no longer being deployed to Poland. Trump's announcement for the additional troops to Poland came in a post on Truth Social Thursday, where he cited his strong ties with Polish President Karol Nawrocki. It all raises uncertainty for the European allies who have been blindsided by the changes. The Trump administration has complained about NATO members not shouldering enough of the burden of their own defense and failing to do more to support the Iran war. The new order set off a flurry of reactions from military commanders and left allies already doubtful about America's commitment to Europe's security. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio played down the issue before a meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Sweden.
Obviously, the United States continues to have global commitments that it needs to meet in terms of our force deployment, and that constantly requires us to re-examine where we put troops.
About 80,000 U.S. troops are stationed in Europe. The Pentagon is required to keep at least 76,000 troops there, unless NATO allies are consulted and it's determined that it's within U.S. interest to withdraw them. Trump's latest post suggests that troop numbers in Europe would not dip below that amount.
The United States maintains around 80,000 troops in Europe to support its global security commitments. While troop deployments are regularly reviewed, the Pentagon is generally required to keep at least 76,000 personnel in Europe unless key conditions are met, including consultations with NATO allies. After controversy surrounding reports of troop movements, President Trump announced that an additional 5,000 U.S. troops would be sent to Poland, emphasizing that America's military presence in Europe would remain strong. Critics argued the announcement appeared to be an effort to reassure allies following confusion over earlier decisions. The episode fueled broader criticism of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Opponents claimed his leadership reflected political loyalty rather than a clear defense strategy, leaving the administration to clarify or reverse controversial decisions. They argued the situation exposed communication problems at the highest levels of government and raised concerns about how major military decisions were being made. Critics warned that when military policy is driven by uncertainty or mixed signals instead of a consistent strategy, the consequences can extend far beyond Washington, affecting U.S. allies, global stability, and national security.
Also concerned about recent reporting on your own financial dealings with regard to profiting from the war in Iran. The Financial Times reported that your broker tried to buy hundreds of shares in a BlackRock fund invested in defense companies just before the war began. The law clearly prohibits the Secretary of
That entire story is false, has been from the beginning, and was made up out of whole cloth. And anybody that looks at it sees how it was worded from the beginning to make it look like I was involved in something I had nothing to do and never have. So any insinuation that I've ever profited, other than serving this nation, what I give, what you give, what others give, I'm not looking for money. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for profit. I don't do it for stocks. And that's part of the reason why I'm able to be effective in this job, because no one owns me. No one owns this department. No one owns this president. And we can execute for the American people, and we do.
The law clearly prohibits the Secretary of Defense from owning stock in the 10 biggest defense contractors. Other senators and I sent you a letter with detailed questions about this, and you have not given us a response. So I'd like to hear you say, did you, through your broker at Morgan Stanley or otherwise, seek to invest in any defense-related funds right before Trump started the Iran war?
I'll give it to you as a big, fat negative.
Then let me ask you a second question. Is your broker getting your personal sign-off on any investment in individual stocks?
Bigger, fatter, negative.
He's not getting your sign-off before he makes investments in defense stocks? Can I refer you to your
I'm not making investments, Senator.
I am asking, does he know that he has to get your sign-off before he does that?
Of course. I don't know what you're looking for, but you ain't going to find it.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
I would like to enter into the record the ethics agreement that the Secretary of Defense has signed, that he will sign off personally before his broker makes any attempt to buy defense stocks.
Is there objection?
Thank you.
Without objection, it will be admitted.
Senator Elizabeth Warren questioned Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over reports that a broker sought to invest in a defense-related fund shortly before the conflict with Iran escalated. Warren argued that federal ethics rules restrict the defense secretary from holding investments in major defense contractors, and noted that Hegseth had signed an ethics agreement requiring oversight of such financial matters. Hegseth denied any improper influence, insisting that no financial interests dictated his decisions. However, critics argued that his responses left key questions unanswered, adding to existing concerns about his leadership and decision-making. Taken together, critics say the controversies, from disputed troop deployment decisions to ethics questions, paint the picture of a defense secretary facing growing scrutiny. They argue the administration has repeatedly been forced to explain or clarify major decisions, raising concerns about consistency, transparency, and strategic planning at the Pentagon. Whether those controversies ultimately affect Hegseth's future in office remains uncertain. But the debate has intensified, with lawmakers and observers continuing to question his leadership, ethics, and ability to manage one of the nation's most critical national security roles.